Welcome to Business World Wellbeing Dialogues. We are talking to people who can make sure you learn from their craft, you learn from their advice on well-being, on the mind, body, soul connection. Today we have a special guest in VW Wellbeing Dialogue. I'd like to welcome Ms. Rachna Chatti, who is a nutritional therapist, an author, and somebody who's transforming the lives of people in corporate India and elsewhere. She has patients across the globe, and she has transformed many people and made their lives better. She has her own inspirational story. So before we get to interview her, let me welcome her on the show. Welcome, Rachna. And I'd like you to tell our readers, viewers about how did you get into being a nutritional therapist? You were a hotshot corporate executive, jet setting the world. Why did you become a nutritional therapist? How did this miracle happen?
Thank you, Anurag. First of all, thank you so much for having me on this platform and the wonderful work you're doing with VW and VW Wellbeing. You are right. I was in the corporate sector. I was heading business development for a large multinational financial services company when I was stuck with an incurable autoimmune condition. I had rheumatoid arthritis, and typically, what happens in rheumatoid arthritis is that it attacks your small joints and then goes on to attacking your various body parts, including your organs. My life from being a globe-trotting, high-energy corporate executive with a wonderful future and career came tumbling down, and I was pumped with toxic medications, including chemotherapy, drugs, steroids, immunosuppressants, and in one single session of 45 minutes, I was given 13 injections across my knuckles and wrists to handle my pain without any anesthesia. And I passed out for 3 days with that. And when I actually resurfaced, that's when I decided that I'm not going to lead this life. I wanted my old life back, or I wanted at least my energy levels back and my pain levels down, and doctors were not doing any of that for me. uh, Today, when I look back, I realize that they are also helpless because there is no cure for autoimmune conditions in medical science. It's a very reactive science. So I went on my own path to find a solution, and I think uh, I was blessed that I was able to make the connection between inflammation, immune system, and disease, and change the way I eat and live and respond to stress, and healed myself. After I healed myself is when I realized that if I can do it for myself, I can do it for people across the world, but I would need a certification. So that's when I did my nutritional therapy certification course. I did my WHO certification course in malnutrition, and also became a certified cancer coach. And here I am, 12 years later.
Fantastic. I can tell from my personal experience, I first met Rachna in Feb, first week of Feb in 2014, from 9th Feb till 26th May. Uh, I followed Rachna's advice on nutrition, on exercise, on breathing, and mostly on nutrition. And I lost about 17 and a half kgs, and I just didn't lose weight. I was able to bring my body markers uh, into the right markers, at the right levels. So I can talk from personal experience that if you have follower advice and you're disciplined in following that, and it lasts for 3 to 6 months, you can experience health and energy that you haven't experienced before. Rachna, uh, give us a bit of case studies or examples of people you've cured. And apart from your advice, what were the things in them that made them cure? Of course, discipline and following what you told them mattered. I know of Anshul in one case, Palak Ahuja in the other case. Uh, but tell us about some of your patients across the globe and in India.
Anurag, I have patients now across 27 countries, and it's amazing. And I say amazing, almost miraculous, how the human body and mind can repair themselves with the right kind of nutrition. Each and every time that anybody has followed through with whatever plans that I have given them, clinically we have been able to repair and reverse their conditions. Even in your time, if you remember, you had type 2 diabetes and high cholesterol, and we reversed that in a matter of 4 months. And
Absolutely.
that is what I am doing with everyone. That's what I'm doing with everybody across the world as well,
And I want to
including
say that
cancer. You know, when
I'm
we look at
interrupting.
cancer cases.
I'm interrupting, but I want to tell you that, Rachna gets into detailing on each patient. So there's no one diet fits all. Of course, there are some things that are universally good, but she looks at a patient's makeup. What is the issue? It's a very personalized, customized advice. It is not one size fits all. It's not a cookie cutter approach. Uh, there is an empathy involved. There is compassion involved. It's very personalized. Yes, Rachna.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Anurag. Yes, it is personalized because each one of us has a different DNA, and each one of us is different. Just like you and I look different, our insides respond or react to our environment differently. So the input has to be customized to each person. When I look at the chronic diseases patients that I have helped overcome, there's one thing consistently that I have noticed, and I will specifically talk about immunocompromised people, since they are the ones who need the maximum support in these difficult times, is that whatever treatment that you may be getting done, whatever pills that you may be having, the pills are a reactive mechanism for you to suppress your symptoms. However, when you nourish yourself physically and emotionally, and when I say physical and emotional nutrition, physical nutrition is what you put in your mouth. Emotional nutrition is what you put in your mind, and the mind is not an organ. The mind is not the brain. It's not something that any doctor can clinically identify. But your reactions and responses will be determined by your mind, and your propensity to get an illness or disease will also depend on how your mind is responding to stress. So, in all the cases that I have treated, I have worked on helping people change their responses through both these physical and emotional nutrition. And
By
with
showing them
cancer
hope,
cases, there have been
by,
a
by
few.
showing them hope, and by giving them a formula how it can be reversed, showing them early signs of how they're improving. Because the moment you see that you're improving, it just gives you more energy to keep going down that path. So yes,
Absolutely. Very, very well put, Anurag. Yeah. Because the first step is people will do want, proof. They look at, like it happened with you. People will look at the customized chart and say, oh my God, how will I do this? But within 3 weeks, when you start seeing your body repairing mechanism happening, even your blood reports getting better, within 3 weeks, your inflammation markers can come down. That's when they start walking the talk. That's when I introduce the pranayams and meditation along with the nutritious food, and they start doing it with more discipline because they have seen the proof of the pudding.
Kavi, Abhinav.
Abhinav sir, you want to go ahead or should I?
You go ahead, Kavi. I'll join in later.
Ma'am, I know this is a vast topic, but could you please tell us a little bit on how holistic nutrition contributes to the repair of the damaged DNA by lengthening telomeres? So basically, in a nutshell, what are the food and lifestyle changes one can adopt in order to approach and support this repair?
Thank you so much, Kavi. This is very, very pertinent question, especially for people who I would call non-believers, who just think that everything be all end all is just popping a pill. When you nourish yourself with the right nutrition as per your condition, and you do certain cognitive techniques to reduce stress levels, like cooling pranayams and meditation techniques. There is scientific proof on the telomeres lengthening in clinical studies. Now, this is a science that we call epigenetics. That is basically what I deal with. Epigenetics is the science where even if you have a bad gene, the way you live your life is going to change the response of your gene towards disease. And if you give it the right input nutritionally, your response towards disease starts changing. So there is a trigger. It's a switch on and off situation. If you are genetically prone to a particular disease, the But if you live a nutritionally good life, then the trigger will not come on. For example, I'll give you my example. My mother, my grandmother, my brother are heart patients. To heart disease, but I do not have heart disease because of my lifestyle, because epigenetically I have changed the response of my genes and the switch hasn't come on, and all my markers are fine, and I am physically also in a good shape.
Thank you, ma'am.
Rachna, you spoke about, am I audible to you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. You spoke about mental and emotional and physical nutrition. Now, physical nutrition is an entity which most of the people are aware, even for the starters. But when it comes to emotional nutrition, people don't find that as a nutrition chart or a nutrition tablet. We're the youngest country in the world, but the irony is that we are also the most depressed country in the world. Suicide rates are amongst all-time high among students, amongst youngsters. What do you think is lagging there, and what are we missing? Are we thrusting too much pressure on our youngsters, or is there mismatch expectations, or are we dealing with generation gap fiasco? What is troubling youngsters? What is your sense?
Yeah, both youngsters and women. We have the largest number of depressed women also in the world.
Yeah.
There is a gap between expectations and reality. So when somebody is growing up, and they are given a certain pressure point, and told that if you put this pressure on yourself for this period of time, then the world is going to be a better place for you at a later stage. Now that later stage, things change. Things are very volatile. You cannot predict that if you are going to study for 18 hours a day and do your engineering or MBA, then you are definitely going to get that rosy job or admission in that college or anything. The setting of expectations is in itself flawed in our country, because the parents do not look at their children as guardians of their children to nurture their children. They look at them as their property to say, this is my child, he or she is going to fulfill my aspirations and dreams. That is where the stress starts building up. So when a child is 14 years old, you say childhood is supposed to be one of the most carefree times. When a child is 12 years old, 14 years old, they're already dealing with puberty. They're already not understanding what's happening inside their mind and body. And then on top of that, the pressure is put. Now imagine this 12-year-old child being told, you study for IIT, you study for IIT. At 15, you join JEE, you study for JEE. At the age of 18, that child does not get through JEE. What happens to that child who has been in a state of chronic stress? This is chronic stress. From the age of 14 till 18, 4 years of chronic stress, inflammation markers shoot up, disease activity shoots up. So even if the child has been eating right, physical nutrition is only 50%. A stage of chronic stress is going to stop absorption of physical nutrients into your gut. It spoils your digestive system. If your digestive system is compromised, your immune system is compromised. And that is how the lack of expectation there's a gap between expectation and reality, and that is how depression sets in.
But
Yeah.
But Rachna, I deal with a lot of youngsters and I come across a lot of depressed people, especially in my age. There's a taboo to express your mental dilemma that you're going through a depression because people are not ready to identify it. So, do you also think that there is a taboo about expression of mental depression or mental well being, which is not very prevalent in India? I mean, we still have considered that subject to be a taboo or maybe dismissive in nature. The acknowledging of the
Yeah,
fact
so
that
so
there is mental ill health.
yeah, I think the situation is much better today than it was even 5 years ago, thanks to some of our movie stars coming out into the open about it, and very, very inspirational. I thank them all. You are absolutely right. There is a stigma attached to it. Uh, uh, but it should be dealt with just like any disease is being dealt with. So often I meet parents and children together, and the child is depressed, and the parents just turn around and say, "Oh, but we've given him everything. He's got everything on a platter." we had to struggle so much when we were growing up. Their time was different. Our time when we were growing up was different. It's not an apple to apple comparison. The stress levels are different. The competitiveness is different. There is constant pressure thanks to social media.
So Rachna, I want to come back to nutrition and food
Yeah.
and being a nutritional therapist. We are in COVID times, vitamin D anyway, traditionally Indians have had less vitamin D because exposure to sun is less, right?
Right.
And I was just reading something in the
Right.
morning which said that if your vitamin D level are down, then you're susceptible to COVID even more. So tell us a little
Right.
bit about vitamin D. How important is vitamin D and why? And how can one get vitamin D? Of course, there are vitamin D supplements, but beyond that, in natural foods, standing in the sun for 15 minutes. Tell us a little bit about vitamin D and well-being. Vitamin D is related to aging, right?
No, vitamin D is related to your immune system and heart health. So, in most immunocompromised patients, and the category of immunocompromised patients includes anybody who gets frequent flus, infections, allergies, eczemas. So, itching is one of them. Has been a cancer warrior or an autoimmune warrior. This is the category of immunocompromised people. In immunocompromised people, vitamin D absorption is less, levels are less, and they have to always have optimum levels so that they do not have a relapse. How you absorb your vitamin D is a huge factor. A lot of us can take supplementation, but we may not be able to absorb. Always remember that 15 minutes of sun is not going to give you optimum vitamin D. And the kind of foods that have vitamin D are today not easily available. For example, fish bones, fish has vitamin D, not very easily available. Today, not too many people are non-vegetarian. Eggs have a small amount of vitamin D, but again, we are not getting organic eggs very easily. It's good to take a supplement, but there are two things to remember with vitamin D supplementation. One, you should never take a sachet less than 15 days apart. So even if you are deficit, take that sachet of vitamin D that comes, because it's very high dosage, 60,000 IU. You should take it only once in 15 days, and you should take it dissolved in an unsaturated fat. Vitamin D is a fat soluble supplement. If you have it with fat, combine it with fat, it will get absorbed in your gut. But if you do not combine it, it will not get absorbed
So
in
what
your
about
gut.
those capsules that
For
come?
people who don't have
The tablets, the capsules?
those capsules are, Anurag, those capsules are very low dosage capsules. So for, say, if your level of vitamin D is good, then to maintain that level, you can have one daily. But for people who need to up their levels, they need to have one sachet of 60,000 IU every 15 days, dissolved in either saturated fat or unsaturated fat. Saturated fat is fine, like ghee or butter is fine for people who don't have an inflammatory condition like heart disease, type 2 diabetes, high cholesterol, fatty liver, and all these conditions. It's fine. You can give it to children like that. And for most of us, ideally it should be flaxseed oil or extra virgin olive oil. Just dissolve it in a tablespoon of that and swallow it. The reason you cannot take it less than 15 days apart is because vitamin D in excess can damage your kidneys. We have had cases of vitamin D toxicity leading to kidney failure and death in patients where they were given vitamin D by IV, and the dosage was too much. So please be very, very careful about how you take it. It's amazing, it's miraculous in terms of increasing your immunity. While we are on vitamins and supplements, I will also stress on three more categories. One is vitamin C. Vitamin C is extremely important again for the immune system. The second is zinc. Zinc, most of us across the world are deficit in zinc. So it is important for us to load up on zinc. Zinc is present in nuts and seeds which are raw. So raw nuts and seeds which are not soaked in water or which are not roasted will have good levels of vitamin B, C, sorry, not C, vitamin B, E, and zinc. Remember, soaking will always kill the water soluble vitamins. So, must have vitamin C and zinc along with vitamin D in optimum levels. And another oil soluble vitamin is vitamin A. The DNA repair a little while ago, vitamin A and vitamin C have shown to repair the DNA in immunocompromised people in clinical studies. So optimum levels of vitamin A are equally important. If you're having your carrots, make sure that you have your carrots slightly cooked in oil, because again, remember that vitamin A, like D, is an oil soluble vitamin. Your absorption will go up rather than having carrot juice where vitamin A will not get absorbed. It's better to have cooked carrots.
Fantastic. Uh, you wrote a column for 5 years for Business World on what business executives would travel. I know travel has gone out of the window, but what are the simple things people can do in these COVID times to up their immunity? A normal 40-year-old adult, 35-year-old adult. Of course, for old people, it may be a little different. But what are the things generally we can do to up our immunity?
Right. So I'll go step by step. The first thing that is getting compromised and causes low energy in today's times is circulation. We are sitting mostly, we are in the house, we are not getting natural sunlight and fresh air. And most of the corporate executives, senior people that I am treating right now, do not even have any boundaries like they would have in office hours when they were going to work. They're working from 7 a.m. to 11 p.m., sitting and doing Zoom calls or doing other calls and sending out their emails. Circulation goes down. When circulation goes down, the nutrients do not get absorbed, and it leads to fatigue. So every 1.5 hours, have a glass of water. That increases circulation. Get up to get that glass of water. When you just get up to go get the glass of water, you are revving up your circulation. You are also revving up your BMR and reducing your propensity to put on weight in these times. Have a glass of water, which will not only circulate the nutrients, increase the circulation, but will also later on release the toxins that are getting accumulated inside the body. That's one clear way to increase your energy.
I remember
The
Rachna
second
told
is
me
we have
sitting is the new smoking. One day she told me that sitting is the new smoking. Get up every 20 minutes, take a 2-minute break, come back. So I remember, and I do that very often. Go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt.
Wonderful.
I just needed to build on what you said.
Thank you. No, it is the new smoking, even and more so today. So when you're upping your circulation, like you said, you're getting up and you're walking and you go, our hands are always like this or like this. Raise your hands up. Our hands are never up. What happens is that there is a spasm over here. When there is a spasm over here, the blood flow to your brain is not going, and then you start getting a dull ache at the base of your neck. That is all lack of circulation. So when you get up, you should raise your hands so that there is circulation that happens from your brain down to stretch. Absolutely. Secondly, we are not getting our vegetables. We all have a limited supply of vegetables. With whatever vegetables that you get, please increase the quantity of vegetables, because that increases energy dramatically. Vegetables have these miracles known as phytonutrients, which reduce inflammation. 60% of your plate should be vegetables. If you don't get your vegetables, the easiest way, even if you're in a tiny little apartment and you don't even have a window, is to go into your kitchen and take out all the raw seeds and all the raw dals and all, full dals, chana, rajma, saunf, ajwain, methi dana, germinate them in water. Sprout them. They will start within 3-4 days. They will start to grow little saplings. You've got your greens. So even if you don't get the greens, have a continuous supply of these dried items becoming your green items, and then you can take bunches of these and have them with you. So that's the second thing to do to increase energy and to increase immunity.
What else? sleep. We've often talked about how
The third,
sleep is. Sorry, I
pardon me?
preempted. Sleep. I was going to talk to you about the quality and quantity of sleep, which you always emphasized on. But we leave it to your
I was going to,
priorities.
that was my third point, Anurag. So thank you for bringing it up. The third thing is sleep. A lot of people are anxiety prone and not sleeping well. There is a little bit of a gloom everywhere that when is this going to end? And within corporate India and the business sectors, people are getting a little low about, for the next 1.5 to 2 years, what is the future? When is business really going to start looking up? We cannot help what is going to happen. Feeling gloomy is not going to change the situation. Lack of sleep is definitely going to change the status of your health and immune system. So, how do you make sure that you get good sleep and reduce your anxiety levels? Have a nightly schedule. Before you go to sleep, you must listen to some, there are lots of apps, there's lots of stuff on YouTube on guided meditation, sleep meditation. It really works. We have so much available to us. For 20 minutes, just lie down in a comfortable position, put on your headphones, and listen to guided meditation for sleep. It really, really helps. It will start winding you down. After doing that, have a cup of chamomile tea. Chamomile tea is available very easily in across most places. You don't have chamomile tea, you can do tulsi tea. A warm cup of chamomile or tulsi tea with a spoon of raw honey is going to pacify your gut and make you feel calmer, and the meditation is going to unwind you, and you will get your 7-8 hours of sleep. Do this as a nightly routine.